We continue in our Lenten devotional series on the 7 words that Jesus spoke on the cross. And now we are on the 3rd week as we again get closer and closer to approaching Holy Week and what Jesus has done for us on the cross. And today we look at the words that Jesus, as he's up on the cross and he looks down at John, his disciple, and his mother Mary. He looks at his mother and he says, "Mother, here is your son." And to his disciple, he says, "John, here is your mother." Now, can you picture that from both of those different standpoints? Can you picture Mary, for example? Here it is. Let's go back to the very beginning when she took Jesus, where Joseph and Mary took Jesus to the temple to dedicate him. And Simeon told her at that moment that he's going to be, it's going to be a major factor. It's going to cause rise and fall for many people in Israel. And he's also going to have a sword that's going to pierce your heart also. And here she is in that moment looking up at Jesus. And I can't imagine looking up at a child on a cross like that. The pain that must have felt in her. And realizing the truth of what Simeon says and all these people and what is piercing her heart, just the sorrow and the sadness of looking at her son. And I understand she knew for the most part, she had moments of well, he's my son, but she also knew that this was God's son. She knew what the angel Gabriel told her. She knew through all sorts of experiences exactly who he was. And at some point she's going to have to let go. But wow, how difficult that must have been sitting there doing that. I mean, with the loss of Joseph, we don't know in the Bible when Joseph actually passed away, but he's no longer there at this moment in time, and just the sorrow and loss and not wanting this to happen. It must have been tough for Mary. Then look at John. John, listening to all the different stories that Jesus spoke to the disciples, and one of them he probably remember that story where Mary and her other sons come to Jesus trying to quote unquote save him. That was one of Mary's moments. He's mine. But here they come, and Jesus is told by somebody, "Hey, your mom and brothers are outside," and Jesus is like, "No, here's my mother and my brothers." I can kind of picture that moment for John, like, as he says those words and just understanding that really there's something more going on here. I mean, why would Jesus look down and say, "John, here's your mom"? That's not my mom. It is now. Is it Mary? This is your son? That's not my son. It is now. There's a bigger thing going on here. And that's what Jesus has done for us to bring us all together. We are brothers and sisters in Christ. We are family, brought together with our family through the waters of baptism as adopted children of God. What a blessing that truly is. And so I hope you can understand that here it is. God is saying perhaps to you, here are your sisters and brothers, and here's your mother and your father. Here's all these different things because of me. Because I'm the head of the church. I want you now to be together and love one another as I've commanded, as I've shown you. And go out and be the church. Show that love to others. Because we are one family. And with that, being one family, we will fight, we will argue, we will make mistakes, we will not like certain things, we will be selfish, we'll have all those things. But don't ever lose that bond of family in Christ. Be more forgiving of each other and let forgiveness come to you for when you make a mistake. That doesn't mean at the same time we just let things happen and it's like, oh, it's okay that you did this. No, we got to hold each other responsible, accountable, because we are family, because we know what God wants to do. We know what we ought to do. We should live it correctly. So as we now begin this week, well, we're in the middle of this week as you're watching this video, as we go through this week, understand that we are brought together as family because of Christ. God's blessings to you, and we'll talk to you next week.